Hi guys. So today I'm going to be looking at Marc Randolph, and he started Netflix, or at least it was partially his idea, and a lot of what he seems to talk about is sort of the inception of that idea. So he's really all about Netflix as an idea. So yeah, let's just take a look and see why is he so excited about how he simply came up with an idea. I mean, it was a good idea, granted.
I wanted to do negative option. And negative option, of course, is very common now. Negative option is that you sign up, and unless you cancel actively, we automatically keep billing your credit card every month.
Right, like the gyms do.
Yeah, exactly. Like almost every subscription service does. Reed was thinking, that is so scammy. That is so sleazy. That is borderline illegal. And I'm going, every single magazine in the world works that way. Almost every single other continuity program in the world works like that way. It doesn't have to be sleazy. You can be upfront. You can make it easy to cancel. But just let's just assume they're going to like it, rather than assume that they're not going to like it. And to my credit, I managed to convince him to test that, and that's the test that blew the doors off. Hi, I'm Marc Randolph. I'm a serial entrepreneur, perhaps best known as the co-founder and first CEO of Netflix, and you're watching Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott. I can't remember who it was. I was listening to a podcast, and she was going, you wouldn't like walk into a store and say, I'll take all that. You got to try things on and see how they feel and see how they fit. And I think it's exactly the same. You know, whatever you think is pretty meaningless. It's what you do and find out through experience that I think is the valuable thing.
Yeah. So you're a direct marketer. You got all these sort of entrepreneurial ideas. How far away is that from Netflix?
Pretty far. I mean, probably 15 plus years. I mean, I had the combination. I was in the direct marketing business, but I was at the same time either starting companies or being right there as companies were being started. We started a magazine, and I was circulation director for the magazine. So from a startup, but that was the direct response component of starting a magazine. Then launched 2 mail order companies, then came out to California, helped turn around another mail order company. And it was only after that mail order company got sold, I turned the company around and sold it to a company back east, that I said, I'm not leaving California.
Why does he have so much music going on here? You know, I noticed that Marc Randolph has the Hunger Games series behind him, and Inheritance, which is one of those dragon books by, what was his name, Christopher Paolini, in the series, the Aragon series. So it seems like he has a small affinity for young adult fiction.
This is pretty nice, and began casting around for what to do, and ended up working at a big software company, building out a direct marketing function for them, selling their software direct.
Okay.
And that's what got me my foot into the technology business, seeing how software was made, how software was sold, understanding that whole market. And it was only at that point where I ended
What is going on with the music?
up transitioning from there to general management. Wonderful kind of Silicon Valley golden handcuffs way, where they say you got to come to work for 6 months, and we'll pay you, we'll invest your stock, you have an office, and you really have nothing to do. We're just waiting for the deal to close.
Right.
And Reed Hastings was also going to be out of a job. They already had a CEO, and he was in the same boat. And I said, I'm going to use these 6 months to start my next company. And Reed wasn't quite so eager to start another company. He was going to go become an educational philanthropist. That was his plan, but wanted to keep a hand in. And so we came to an agreement that we would.
So one thing that I'm noticing is that the owner of the channel, or the host, if you will, he's kind of grimacing a little bit. So notice his eyes are shut. He's a little bit like, this isn't making me happy. It seems that Marc Randolph is basically not letting him get a word in edgewise. So with someone, say Marc Randolph, say he was an info dominant IP. Now I'm not trying to slam down. I'm just saying, if you are both info dominant and a double observer, that's a lot, and an introvert, that's a lot of me. So if you come on a channel, it's almost like there's so much that just flows out of your introversion, and because you are just so brimming full of information that, well, now nobody wants to listen to you. Another interesting point is when he said Reed Hastings, he said that guy's full name before even introducing who he was. Sometimes the IPs will say full names like that. So that's just a few clues. So far, yeah, it does sound a lot more DI, like this is my success story from Marc Randolph. This isn't Brene Brown talking about how weakness is actually strength or something. Sorry, vulnerability is a strength. He's talking about the inception of an idea that he came up with and all the mistakes he made along the way. Whereas the story of someone with DE is not going to be as much like that. So I looked at the hint. Dave and Shan have the hint. I'm not going to say it actually. But yeah, so I'll just carry on and keep watching.
Come up with an idea together. He'd be my angel investor. He'd be my board chair. I would start and run the company, and off we went. And this is back in.
So you guys were tight, very tight.
Absolutely, because when I said that was really fortuitous that I ended up bumping into Reed Hastings when his company acquired my company. The other little bonus was that it turned out that Reed lived in the same town that I did. So Reed and I began carpooling to work together and had 6 to 9 months of car time to get to know each other, both professionally.
So just all I have to do is look into Mark's eyes and I can see that he's just completely insufferable. That is, any time that I spent around this person, I would be suffering the entire time.
Professionally, but more importantly, personally, which is why when all of a sudden we were both out of a job and said, let's start something together, we were already starting from a position of trust, respect, and the recognition that it would be really fun to do something together.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned those car rides. It's so interesting to me. Like some of the places that you least expect sort of, the magic to happen or a great idea to come, that's when it happens. It's in a car ride, or you're sitting in a coffee shop somewhere, or you're on a hike, or maybe you're snowboarding with someone, climbing a mountain, and all of a sudden, you get this inspiration. And so how quickly did it evolve into a big idea?
Well, I'll challenge you again on the big inspiration idea.
So the guy who's running this, the host, he just says, you know what, sometimes you're on a car ride or something, and Mark already is challenging him. So one of the things about the difference between DI and DE is that DI, it's always trying to raise itself. So there's a certain element of like your level. And DE, it's almost like it wants to raise the whole tribe. It's almost like DE users are born that way so that if another tribe attacks our tribe, that we've got some people who are very loyal to our tribe. Something like that. So DE wants to make sure that the whole tribe is growing, and DI wants to make sure that I'm growing. Well, the problem with that is you can become just this completely insufferable person who only ever talks about his own growth. And a guy, he's literally just trying to, this Proctor, he kind of reminds me of Andrew Huberman a little bit, the host. He just says something conversational just to warm things up, just a little icebreaker. He goes, yeah, sometimes you get a good idea in the car. You never know when you're going to get a good idea. So that's good because that's a little icebreaker. But then Marc Randolph takes it and goes, you know what? I'm going to challenge you on that one. So you don't want to challenge the icebreaker. The icebreaker, that one you give a fake compliment, right? Because if we're already just challenging everything, it's like, what is this? Is this whack-a-mole where I just say something and you whack me for it? It's insufferable. So, first note, Marc Randolph is insufferable. There we go. And that is his name, right? Marc Randolph. Yes, it is.
Because although, listen, that we all love that epiphany, where all of a sudden, boom, there's the idea fully formed, ready to go, but it doesn't happen that way. Reed and I, for example, were looking for ideas for a long time. And there was no singular aha moment. Because we were brainstorming all kinds of crazy stuff. I had some criteria because of all those years in direct response.
When you don't have sensory at the bottom, in other words, if sensory is in the first, second, or third slot, what happens is that everything you say is sort of augmented or boosted by just a little bit more clarity. So oftentimes, if you have sensory first, second, or third, and you get an opportunity to show that off, what you'll do is you'll just rev the engine. You'll just give it some gas. So now we're just spitting out sensory we don't even have to be talking about. But you've got enough sensory, so hey, let me just show it off. Let me just show off how I can be clear and remember what we were talking about and share some facts, and everyone's going to think the better of me for it. So I'm seeing some perhaps play last-isms just because he's not doing any play at all. Play last is my suspicion. Is that how you spell suspicion? Suspicion, yes, I think so.
I saw the internet coming along, and I knew that I had to do an e-commerce play, that this was direct marketing on steroids. I also was really keen on doing something that had high degrees of personalization, because I was at the point where we were just starting to see direct marketing be able to really use personalization. But other than that, I was wide open. And I remember pitching Reed, ideas. One of them was personalized shampoo, that you would cut off a lock of your hair and you'd mail it to us. And my team of hair scientists would formulate a custom blend just for you, and you'd subscribe.
So what he's saying is very complete. It's very complete. The bulging of his eyes, that's one of these things that I've been noticing more and more the more I type. And that strikes me as the kind of person who is... It demonstrates that you're fully convinced of what you're saying. You're fully convinced. So whatever he's talking about right now, he's all in on it. He thinks it's the best thing in the world. He has zero regrets about talking about it. He feels no conviction for his poor listener. He feels no remorse. That's what those bulging eyes mean. It means I'm all in. he's going a lot about the idea. He's going on about the idea a lot. So whether sensory or intuition is, which one is above, he looks like someone with a little more intuition. He looks like an ENTP. But the sensory isn't that bad, and he's definitely insufferable. So I can't say one way or the other if this is an ENTP or an ISTP jumper, or an INTP or an INFJ jumper. But it does seem like this does seem like NT. This does seem like Savior NT. Because it's all thinking. This is mastermind talk.
Subscribe to it. And then Reed, of
I like
course,
it.
he's the analytical type, and he's telling me all the reasons it's not going to happen. So that idea gets abandoned. And then I pitch like, I don't know, another one was custom dog food, where we formulate it just for your pet, for their breed and their age and climate, whatever. And then that was also abandoned. And then I pitched that we would do video rental.
So he's not listening to the social cues from the moderator, from the host at all. The host is going, yeah, okay, sure. And Mark just keeps going. And Mark's tone is all screwed up. He's acting like he's in charge, but he's not in charge at all. He's basically not welcome. That's what's really going on here in the feeling function. So Mark is missing the feeling function. Cues from his host.
Rental by mail, which is even a more ridiculous idea. I mean, it's a big category. This is an $8 billion category, but locked up by Blockbuster. There's one on every corner.
Right.
And worse, back then, video rental was on VHS cassettes. And because of all my experience with like...
He is literally insufferable. This Mark is extremely insufferable. All right, I literally can't watch him anymore. He's that insufferable. All right, so I'm just gonna go with this type. No, I don't think this is any SI. Consume because he's not listening. He's probably play last. He's probably flex above friends. He sounds maybe like he's... I don't know about generalize, specialize. Maybe generalize above specialize. Alright, so that's what I got from Mark. Thanks, guys. Bye.